Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's lecture on ISM 416 Natural Language Processing. So far in this course, we've seen how to handle text with Python. Last week, we saw how to identify patterns in text by looking at regular expressions and using the RE library in Python. Now this week, we are going to take it a step further by seeing how to combine regular expressions and pandas so as to convert our unstructured data into a structured data. Now, what is Pandas library? Pandas library is perhaps one of the most used and most important library in Python for handling structured data. Now, we are going to see more of Pandas as we proceed in this course. Okay? Now, we are going to be using 3 libraries this week. The first is the RE library, which you already know. Then the second is the Pandas library, which we are going to use much later, okay, for converting our unstructured data into a structured form. Then finally, we are going to be using the email library so as to extract the body of our email. Now, this week, we are going to use these libraries to categorize our email appropriately by extracting these variables from them: the sender's name, the sender email address, the recipient name, the recipient email, the date the mail was sent, the subject of the mail, and the email body. Okay, and we are going to be doing this using the 3 libraries. Now, like I told you, we are going to be converting our unstructured data. Now we are going to be using the fraudulent email corpus. Okay, that's the big one that contains thousands of mail, so you can better appreciate what we are going to be doing today. Okay, so and we are going to write a script for it. That means most of our code is going to be in one line. Okay, so let's get started. Now, today's lecture is broken down into steps. Okay, so the first step is to import our library. So we simply go to our Jupyter notebook. Already you know how this is done. Once you launch your Jupyter notebook, then you navigate to your working directory, okay, and create a new notebook. Now, since I told you we are going to be using the fraudulent email corpus, that is this one, okay, the link to download this data set was provided in your slide last week, as I showed you. Then also, I'm going to be uploading the data on our Slack channel in case you are unable to download yours. Okay, so we'll start by importing our libraries. And so far, you already know how to import your library. We simply import libraries using the import keyword. So I'm going to write a comment which says import important libraries, because these libraries are going to be very important for us. The first one we are going to import is our RE library, which we used vastly last week. So I simply say import RE. Then secondly, we are going to import our Pandas library. So import Pandas. Now, since I don't want my Pandas to be, maybe when I want to use my Pandas, I don't want to call the full name, okay, so I simply initialize it, that is, I abbreviate it. So I simply say import Pandas, but call it PD for me. That's what this line means, import Pandas as PD. Okay, then finally import our email. Okay, email data. So let's is happening? So let's wait a while for this. It's slowing down a bit. Okay, so once you have it, once you've written your code, you run it already, you know how to run. Shift enter or command return to run if you're on Mac and Windows respectively. Now while this runs, we have to prepare our script. So I'm going to write a comment saying preparing our script. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a variable emails. Okay, this emails is going to hold an empty list. Now I'm going to explain what this means much later so I don't confuse you guys. Okay, so just know we define an empty list, which is emails. Then the next thing we do is we import our data set. Okay, now like I already told you, we are going to use the fraudulent email corpus. Okay, just make sure it is on your working directory. So where is it? This is it, fraudulent emails.txt. that is the data set. Okay, so I simply declare a variable. I'm going to declare the same variable like that we used last week, which is fh, short for file holder. And to import our text file, you already know how it's done. Use the open function. Okay, so open, and the name of our data set is fraudulent. Okay, okay, let's see, this is it. So for you guys that don't know what I just did, I simply type the initial letter of my text data, then I press my tab on my keyboard, so I get what's it called now, I get a list of items starting with that letter. Okay, so I select the first one. This will save me the stress of having to type everything out myself. Okay, so then the second parameter, which you already know, I set it to read only. Then the last thing I do is to read it, right? So using the read function. So when you're done with this, you run it. Okay, now for us to start, we have to take a glance at our data. Okay, so this is it. These are our data. Now what I want you to observe here is the email starts with from R. Okay, so that means each of these email, like I told you, we have thousands of them here. So each of them starts with from R here. So this is the first mail, and this is where it stopped. Okay, this is where the second one starts. Now we want to do something. We want to split this email. Okay, we want to split it so we'll have individual emails. And how do we do that? We are going to use the split function in our RE library. Okay, so I'm going to declare a variable which is called content. So it's going to hold the split emails. Okay, so content is equal to, how do I split? Now we looked at this last week. Okay, although the code we used last week may be a little bit complex. Okay, now I'm going to simplify everything. Please pay attention to this. Okay, so to split corpus, already you know what corpus is, right? A data set of text, which is this, isn't it? So for us to split it, we simply call our library RE, which is short for regular expression. Then we use the split function in it, split. Okay, so now this split function takes in two arguments, just like the other functions we used last week, like the find all and the search function. Okay, this also takes in two parameters. The first one is the pattern, and the second one is the string we want to find those things in, the pattern in, isn't it? Okay, so what do we want to split? What's the pattern? We want every time that our split function I trace through this corpus here, anytime it sees from here, it will split it. Okay, and already you know, if this is split, it will create an empty list, just like we looked at in the an empty string, I mean, just like we looked at in our first lecture, handling text with Python, isn't it? So let's look at it. So we split from, okay, so anytime we see from R, isn't it? Then from where? Where do we get this pattern from? From our file holder corpus. So this is what we need. Okay, so we'll run it. Now this ran successfully. So let's see if I can print this, although the file is very large. So my machine is an old one, so if it doesn't print, it might print in yours. Okay, so but no worries. Let me pause this. Oh, it doesn't print. So let's pause this until, oh wow, it printed. Now observe what I was trying to tell you. When we split this thing, our corpus on from, okay, it created an empty string here. So if we go down to look at the rest, where is the other one? Okay, it ended here. Okay, look at it. It also created an empty string. So we have to get rid of those empty string. And how do we do it? We simply use the pop function. Okay, it's very simple. What we simply do is we say content, which is a new variable name here. Okay, content, we simply say dot pop, p-o-p. Okay, and we want to remove the item in the first index. Like I told you, Python starts counting from 0, right? So the item here has position 0, so we'll simply say 0. Okay, then we'll run it. Okay, this is taking a while. Okay, great. Now I will use the pop function to remove the string, which you can see here. And now when I print my contents again, the string is now gone. Okay, so far we've looked at the first 3 steps. Let's go back to our slide and see and confirm that. Okay, so we've seen how to read our corpus, which is the second step. We saw how to split, okay, which is the third step. Now which is the second step. Now the third step, we are going to see how to get sender's name and email from the contents. Okay, so let's go back to our slide. Now before we do that, I want to show you some few things. Okay, first we need to, from now on, we're going to start our script. Okay, and this is going to be our primary target. That means everything we're going to be doing will be iterating through these contents here. Okay, so for us to get sender's email and name, okay, so we simply write a comment starting our script. Okay, starting our script. Okay, now for us to start, we have to write a for loop to iterate through this function here. Then secondly, we are going to create an empty dictionary to hold those variables that we're interested in, like the sender name, the sender's email address, the recipient name, email address, the date, and so on. Okay, so we're going to write a simple for loop by saying for item, okay, term in content, okay, you put your delimiter, very important. Now we create an empty dictionary, so we are going to call it email, okay, emails underscore dict. You can call it this. So if you want to call yours any other thing, feel free, please. It's a variable, it doesn't matter. Okay, email underscore dict. Now this is where we now start. Well, if we want to find, let's look at our corpus again. So if we want to find the sender's email and name, already you know it is embedded into where is it? From here, this is it. For instance, the first person here is Mr. James Ngola. Okay, this is the name, this is the email. So if we want to get the sender's email, we need to identify this pattern here using our regular expression, isn't it? Okay, and last week we happened to do something like this, isn't it? We looked at three major functions, right? We looked at the find all function, we looked at the search, and we looked at the split, right? Now you might want to say we can just use the find all function to extract those details, but now let me clear your doubt. If you use the find all function like we saw last week, find all function simply matches the pattern, okay, and return that pattern in a list, right? Where the search function simply does similar thing with the find all, but the search function simply returns the matched object. Okay, so if we want to convert the matched object to string, we simply use the group function. So for this lecture we are not going to be working with lists, okay, because it's going to give us some restrictions that we don't want, and we're going to have lots of errors which we don't also want. Okay, so our favorite function for today's lecture is going to be the search function instead of the find all function, because using the search function we don't have a list of items, we simply have a string of items which you can further manipulate. Okay, but the codes are generally the same. So as we proceed, you come to understand. Now I'm going to declare a variable called sender. Okay, sender. Now this sender is going to hold the detail for those that sent the email. Let me now take this up so that I can be seeing the patterns here, so I don't need to be interfacing between my Jupyter notebook and the corpus there. So this is what I'm interested in, and we looked at this last week, right? So how did we get this information here? So very simple, right? We simply call our library. Okay, so simply say re dot, now we are going to use search here. I already told you why, because we're interested in string, not list. Okay, so we're going to say re.search. Now this search function, just like we did last week, also takes two parameters like the find all functions. It takes the first parameter is the pattern, okay, the pattern that matched this item here. Where is it? This item here. And secondly, it takes the string that we're interested in getting it from, which is in this case is the item, because we are looking at each of the email here in our general corpus, and each of the email is regarded as an item because we are iterating through these contents here. Does it make sense? Okay, so just like we did last week, we simply write the pattern. Okay, so what's the pattern for getting this detail here? Very simple, starting from then followed by a full colon. And since we want to get everything that follows here except the new line, we use a dot. Then now we want to do a greedy search like we did last week. Okay, so we use an asterisk here. Okay, this is everything we need. Then we simply say comma and specify the second parameter, which in this case is our item. Okay, now running this code will return a list of matched a string of matched objects, which is not what we want. Okay, so we simply want to get a string, isn't it? Okay, so we simply say okay, now okay, so after getting this, what we do next is we see whether this is actually correct. So by printing the group of this sender, because you know that the search function returns a matched object. Okay, so for you to convert that matched object to string, we simply use the group function. Okay, so we simply say print for us this sender dot group, so that we know what we have. Okay, so we'll run it. Okay, fast. All right, yeah, this is correct. Okay, so you can see we have our string now containing this matched pattern here in our corpus, which is wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and comment this because I'm not going to be needing it now. Okay, we just use it to see that our codes work properly. Now, you know, text corpus are full of surprises. Okay, so you can't just go head on by writing some patterns and getting your result offhand. So we have to account for uncertainties. Okay, so we don't have our code breaking. So in this corpus here, we are going to be having errors. So we need to escape that error by writing some if statements. Okay, like you can see now, we have non-type object has no attribute group. That means we have some non-values here. Okay, so what we simply do is we are going to account for this non-value by writing an if statement. Okay, so now I'm going to write another comment here which says find the email address, finding the email address and name. So how do I do that? First thing first, okay, I'm going to write an if statement to account for the non-value. So I simply say if sender is not none. Okay, this is not none, just like your normal sentence simply looked at our sender string here and says, okay, if this is none, you are going to execute so and so. If it is not none, which is this, execute what comes before the s. Okay, so simply put our delimiter and say now we are going to specify a variable s underscore email. This is going to account for the sender's email. Okay, so how do we get the sender's email from this place now? It's very simple. We looked at it last week. Okay, so we simply call our regular expression library and we also use our search here. Okay, I've explained why we are going to be using search instead of the find all function. Okay, so we simply say re.search, which takes two parameters. The first is the pattern. So what's the pattern for the email? Now this is the email, okay? So now to get this email, we want to look for all alphanumeric values, okay? Alphanumeric characters. You know, \W matches A to Z, capital A to Z, 0 to 9, underscore, and others, okay? So we want to use this. Then we also want to account for space, okay? So simply use X, okay, capital X. So because we don't want this, we are looking for the email, we don't want space in the email. And you know, when you use capital S, it is the opposite of \S, which matches space and tabs and others, okay? So we use this. Then we want to do a greedy search for this, so we introduce our star, our asterisk here. Then after this, what follows? It follows by @ isn't it? Okay, so we say @ and want to match every other thing that follows @ we did this last week, so you are familiar with this pattern, right? So then finally we introduce our \W. So, and we are finding this also in our item, okay? Good. Now the next thing we are going to do is to specify a new variable which is going to account for the name, s underscore name, okay? So what happened? Okay, s underscore name, which is equal to re dot search again. Now this one is going to take a much easier pattern, okay, than the one we looked at last week. So let's look at it again. If we look at this, we see okay, sorry, this is not going to be item because we are looking at this sender now, okay? So it's going to be sender dot group because we want to convert the matched object to group. So this is going to go through this string here and identify this pattern and save it as sender's email. So we are going to do the same for the sender's name. So how do we get this name? Already this sender.group here is all this here, okay? And we know that the name is bounded in between a column, okay, and an opening tag here. Okay, so we can simply use that search pattern to get it without much stress. So what we simply do is we say search for us from here, from this string here, anywhere you see something starting with column, okay? So we want to get everything that follows, do a greedy search. That means we want to get all this thing here because the dot matches each individual character, okay? So, and since all these characters are a repetition of each other, we can use the asterisk to match everything here at once, okay, except the new line. So we want to select from this full column everything that follows up to this opening tag. So we simply do this and specify the opening tag. So, and where do we want to find it? We want to find it in our sender.group. Please, you have to follow this video step by step. If possible, you can watch it and rewatch it so you get the whole concept of what I'm trying to explain to you guys, okay? So now we've declared the if statement. If the sender, that's on all the occasion that this sender, this string here is not null, that means it doesn't contain a non-value, you have to execute this command. That means any place you see this pattern, you assign it to email. Any place you see this pattern, you assign it to the name, okay? So this is an if else statement, okay? So we have to specify the else. Else, what this else means is if instead of having a string here, that's the correct thing here, you have a non-value, for instance, what do? You simply say okay, for us not to have a break in our script, okay, so you simply assign s name to none, and do that for s name, s underscore email, and s underscore name. You assign this to none too. What's happening? Okay, you assign it to none as well. Okay, this will do the trick. So we can print this. Okay, we can decide to print okay, let's not print it yet. Let's see if it runs successfully. Okay, so shift enter to run. Alright, so let me pause this so don't waste much. Okay, from here you can notice that s underscore email and name has two outcomes now. It has both the real matched object and the non-value. Okay, so we are going to take account of that by writing another if statement. Okay, so we are going to start with the email now. So we simply say if s underscore email is not none. Okay, if this is not none, what do we want to do? We want to assign the real value, okay, all the emails to a new variable sender. Okay, sender. Okay, sender underscore email. Now remember, this value here is simply a matched object. So for us to convert this matched object to a string, we have to use the group function, isn't it? So simply say sender underscore email is going to take x underscore email dot group, right? So this should do the trick. So but if instead of having a real email here, we have a non-value, so we'll simply say else. What happened? Else. Okay, so else, let's sender underscore email be equal to a non-value, so we don't have errors in our script. Now, having done this, we have to save the value of our string inside the dictionary. We looked at dictionary when we did ISM 415, right? So a dictionary is simply a list of items enclosed in curly braces, right? It contains a key and a value. So now we want to make this our key and the emails our value. So what we simply do is we call our dictionary variable name, which is emails underscore dict. Okay, so and index this value. So once we want to make this a variable name, we have to index it, Ctrl C. So and enclose it in single or double quotes, doesn't matter which. So Ctrl V. Now I want to set this sender name, which is a key now in our dictionary. We want to let it hold the real emails. Okay, so you're going to hold sender email. Okay, so let's do this and print and see what we have. Okay, so we'll simply say print emails underscore dict. So let's see. Don't waste time. All right, you can see how beautiful this is. Okay, so we have now created a key, which is sender email, which is going to hold our emails here. And if you go down, you are going to see some of the emails are missing, so that is why we have none here. So without writing this if statement, this our script would have been broken, would have had errors everywhere. Okay, so this is awesome. So we are going to comment this out and look at how to get the name. Okay, so before that, let me print the group of this sender underscore name, this one, so that we'll see what we are dealing with. S underscore name, okay, dot group. So let's print it and see what we have. Alright, see how dirty our string is, and we also have error because this contains some missing value. But now we are going to treat this one step at a time. First, we are going to get rid of this full column and this opening tag here. So how do we do it? We are going to do it using the sub function. Okay, I know we haven't really done the sub function. It's another function in our RE library. So let's see how to use it. Now I'm going to run a comment which is called remove unwanted substrings. Unwanted substrings. Okay, so the unwanted substring is simply this and this. That's what we want to remove. And to do that, we are going to use the sub function twice. So I'm going to walk you through it so you don't get confused. What we do first is simply say if, remember this s underscore name contains two possible options, the right name and the non-value. So I'm going to write an if statement to capture those two options, right? So I simply say if s underscore name is not none, then here is where I use the sub function. I declare a new variable which is sender underscore name. So this is going to take the real value, all these values here. So re dot sub. Okay, so what am I going to stop? First, I want to remove this one. Okay, so I simply say substitute for us any place you see the full column. Okay, and how do I account for this? I simply say full column, then after the full column we have a space, so I simply say s, right? Okay, and I want to do a greedy search, isn't it? So simply put the asterisk here, right? So I want to substitute all this with an empty string. Okay, so now this sub function takes in three parameters. The first one is the pattern you want to substitute. The second pattern parameter is what you want to substitute it with, and the last one is the string you want to substitute. You want to make the substitution. So our string here is going to be this s underscore name dot group. Okay, so simply say s underscore name dot group. Okay, all right. So now the next thing I'm going to do is we only accounted for this, right? So that means we are going to have from here to here, isn't it? So we are going to do another, we are going to write another sub function to account for this one. Okay, so we simply say re dot sub again, so please don't get confused. Okay, so I'm going to shift this to verify. So now the same three parameters, what do I want to substitute? I want to substitute this Sorry, give me a minute, give me a second. Okay, so we want to find this. Before this we have an empty space. Okay, so why is this holding? Okay, so we simply say \x. Okay, so you want to do a greedy search to capture all the space here. Okay, so until the opening tag here, then want to substitute with an empty string. Okay, so we'll say comma, an empty string here. Then where do we want to get it from? Want to get it from this one here, this sub function here. So feel free to pause this video and go through it again so you understand the concept. Then after doing this, we specify our else statements. Okay, so else if this is none, so else we assign the sender. What is happening? Sorry. So else we say sender underscore name is equal to none, right? So we can run it to make sure everything is working perfectly well. We have error, so where is the error from? Okay, I'm having a formatting issue here. Let me fix it, then come back. Okay, sorry about the formatting problem. Okay, now so I need to specify my else statement. So I simply say sender underscore name is equal to none, right? So let me quickly go through this code here. So this is the first one, right? So in this sub function, I simply say replace for me anything that follows. Anytime you have a full column and a space, you replace it with an empty string. Okay, it's missing here, so sub it with an empty string. Okay, so anytime you have a full column and a space, this \s and this greedy search account for this from here to here, so it's going to replace it with an empty string for me. Then from this empty string, now from this sub function, I will have a result from here to here, so I need to replace this one too. So I simply say anytime you have space and this closing tag here, you will also replace it with an empty string. Else you assign the sender name to a non-value. Okay, so we'll simply run this now to see if it works. So it works properly. Now what do we do next? We store it in our dictionary again. So we'll see. So to do that, we simply call our dictionary, which is email underscore dict. Okay, now I'm going to index the sender name now, sender underscore name. So I'm going to assign it to sender name. Okay, so then what I simply do next is I print my email underscore dict to see if everything is working well. So let's run it and see. Emails, sorry, emails. So emails, keep missing this. All right, perfect. So far we've created two keys in our dictionary. Okay, the first one is the sender email, and the second one now is the sender name. So we have the email of the sender and the name of the sender, which is awesome, right? Now if you are writing this code with me, you have to take note of the indentation. So let's quickly look at it. So this first four now, you can see there is a space here. This is called indentation. So when you write a for loop, everything falls under this for loop here. So you have to take note. If you are writing an if statement, you need to take note of the indentation as well. So from the if statement to this item here is simply a tab. Okay, so for instance, if I delete this now, for me to get the right indentation, I simply use press tab. Okay, so this is it. You have to take note of all the indentation so you don't have error, and in case you have errors, please you do well to let me know. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out now. So now we have this is awesome. Okay, the next thing we have to do, okay, let's go back to our slide and see what we've done and what is left. So I'll tab. Okay, we've looked at step 5, which is to remove unwanted substring. So you can also do well to go through your slides. Okay, it's very detailed as well, so you get more insight on it. Okay, now the next thing we do is we're in step 6 now. Okay, so in step 6 we have to execute similar steps for getting the email and the name of the recipient. Is similar, they are almost the same thing, just the first line of code that is different. So let's look at the first line of code, then the rest will do copy, paste and edit. Hope you guys like that. So let's go back to our notebook. Alright, now the next thing we do is we write a comment, so which is get recipient name and email. Okay, so now like I told you, it's similar, the same step. First step is almost going to be the same thing. What we simply do is we say recipient equal to re.search. Now if you look at our mail, each sender, where is it? Each sender starts with from, right? So what is the recipient going to start with? Let's look at it. This is, now the recipient is supposed to start with to, isn't it? So you can, let's look at it slowly and see. Okay, look at it. It starts with to James and blah 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 blah, right? So this and this are almost the same thing, just the words that is different. Where the sender starts with from, the recipient starts with to. So we can just change the pattern of the search function, but everything is going to be the same. So let's look at it. So to get the recipient, we simply declare a variable, so we'll call it recipient. Okay, so recipient is going to be re.search. Okay, so what is going to be the pattern? The pattern starts with to, followed by full column. So we want to match everything there. Okay, that's why we are doing a greedy search. So and where are we finding it in? We are finding it in item. Okay, cool, this is all right. So when you are done with this, you simply execute. Okay, so we simply run it and see. So wow, it ran successfully. Now let's look at this. Now take a look at sender and take a look at recipient. They are the same thing, right? Isn't it? So if we print recipient dot group, because okay, now let me show you what I mean by group and matched. So if I print this, you simply see that this our search function returns just the match. They say this is a match object and these are the emails. So if we want to convert this match object to this string alone, we simply use the group function. Hope now you understand. So say group function and we run it. So you can see we have all this, which is similar to what we had in this place, right? So that means everything that follows here is going to be the same thing. We can simply copy from here. You can copy from here, right, up to this point. Ctrl C and paste it under here. Ctrl V. So I'm going to comment this this print function here. Okay, so I copied it and pasted. So now I'm going to pause this video to edit all this. What I'm simply going to change is anytime I see sender, I change it as recipient, this change it as R, and that's all. So let's pause the video so it doesn't become too long. Okay, so I've simply copied and pasted everything under the sender's detail. So what I simply did is any place I see sender, I change it to recipient. Any place I see R, I change it to, any place I see S, I change it to R. Okay, so you can do the same, and when you run it, you are going to have, notice that we now have 3 keys here. So the first one is the sender email, the sender name, the recipient email, and the recipient name. Okay, so this is perfect. Now what is the next item on the list? Okay, so I'm going to comment this out. Sorry. So I'm going to comment this out. The next thing we want to look at is how to get date, okay, of the email. That's the date that each of the mails were sent. Now please, this video is going to be a bit long, okay, but it's worth it considering what we're going to be looking at. Okay, so now this is the date field. Where is it? This is the date field, right? So we're not looking at the day now, we're just looking at the date in general. Okay, so the date field starts with where is it? Starts with date. Can you see it? Okay, so it starts with date and full column. So if we want to extract this, we have to consider the date here, isn't it? Okay, so let's go back to our notebook. Now to extract the date, right? So to extract the date, we are still going to write a search function for it. So I'm going to call this date field. Okay, date underscore field. So this is going to hold my search re.search. So what do I want to search? I want to search anything that starts with date, right? Just like we did on the other one. I believe by now you're already familiar with these patterns. So start with date followed by a full column. Then I want to match everything that follows it, right? So using a greedy search. So where do I want to search it inside? I want to get it from the item. Okay, so this is it. So now when we run this, we'll see, let's see if we have errors. Hopefully no errors. Now let's print our date field and see. So we simply say print our date underscore field, run it. Come on, that is taking time. Okay, now this returned a match object. Okay, so we can use the group function to convert it to string. So I'm going to add dot group here, dot group. So and run it. So it now returns the date for me. So if you notice, we have this format from the dates. Okay, and we also have a non-value. So we are going to write another if statement to account for these two outcomes. Okay, so I'm going to comment this again. So also please try to go through your slides. They are very detailed, so you try to understand each of them line by line. You can go through this video multiple times so you can get all the knowledge you need. Okay, now so I'm going to write an if statement. If the same way we did the other one, if date underscore field is not known. Okay, if it is not known, I want to match the date. So I want the date to be equal to re.search. So what's the pattern for this date now? Let's look at it. It's going to be very easy. It's very easy, in fact. So now we notice that the date, we are not considering the day now. The date starts with a digit. In fact, it can be 1 or 2. So we account for that by looking at the pattern for getting digits. How did we do it last week? We saw a list of patterns, right? And the one that matched this perfectly is the \d, right? So this matched digit from 0 to 9. Now, but since this digit now can be 1 or 2, we need to account for multiple occurrence. Okay, to do that we simply use the plus. Remember, the plus accounts for one or more occurrence. So feel free to go through your last week's slide and video to remember some of the patterns we looked at. Okay, so this matched single or double digits, so this is already done for this. Now after this we have a space, right? So we use \s to match the space. Then next we have character word, isn't it? We have characters here. So how do I account for character? \w, isn't it? Then after this, okay, so now this can be one, can occur multiple times as well. So we can use the plus, which accounts for 1 or more times, right? Now the next one we are going to do is, after this we have a space again, so we use \s, right? Then we have digits too, so 4 digits, so we can say use \d. Then since it's going to occur more times, we'll use a plus here. Now you might want to ask, what's the difference between plus and asterisk? Now I'm going to leave it for you to figure out. Maybe it could be kind of an assignment. You try to use both the plus and the asterisk and see the result you get. So you're going to have an entirely different result, and if that happens you can ask me, then I will explain on the chat. Okay, so where are we finding this in? We are finding it in this date field dot group, date underscore field dot group. Okay, so that's if this is not known, this is what's going to happen. Now what if it is known? Else we assign date to be equal to none. So when this is done, we simply assign our date to, we simply create a new key which is going to contain date, right? So you're already familiar with this. This is emails underscore dict, which is our dictionary. Our dictionary is now going to hold date as a key, and the value is going to be date. Okay, so we'll run this. Let's see. Okay, this ran successfully. So let's print our email underscore dict, print email underscore dict. Okay, emails, sorry. Okay, so we'll do this. Now we have cool stuff here. We have different keys: sender email, sender name, recipient email, and stuff. And we also have the date. Now there is a problem here. What's the problem? Date is returning March. Okay, so we have to assign this to group, isn't it? So dot group. So we'll see. Let's see whether that works. Okay, so what are we mixing? Okay, now we are going to, after this we have two options. Sorry, so let's fix this. Okay, now because of time I've pre-written some of these codes. Okay, so where we stopped was the date field. Okay, let me walk you through it so we don't spend so much time on this lecture. Right now, we first of all define a search pattern for date. Right, you already know how to get the date field. We iterated through our corpus. Any place that starts with date, okay, you will get it out for us and store it as date field. Right, then we, knowing that these have two options, we have a non-value and the other value, okay, the real one. So we accounted for it by writing an if statement. So if in this date field there is no non-value, we want to extract everything that matches the correct date. And you know the date starts with one or first digits, isn't it? One or two digits. So we say backwards D, which matches any digit. Then we'll put a plus which matches more than one occurrence. Then after that we have a space. Okay, then we have a character, okay, which could be more than one, so we have another plus here. Then after that we have a space. Then we now have a digit at the end, which is also more than one. So we want to match all this pattern in this date field dot group, which gives us the string, and save it as date. Else, if this is if in this date field it is none, it's going to save the date as none. Right, now making this date have to have two other options. Okay, so we also account for that two options by simply saying that if in this date it is not none, we want to extract the, because this actually returns the match object. So using the group, convert it to string. So we convert it to string and save it as date sent. Else, that's if this date is none, we simply save it as none. So then we create a new key on our dictionary which is going to contain the date sent, okay, which is as simple as the others. Then this is the same thing, just like the date. First of all, we identify the pattern for getting the subject field. Okay, this is to get the title of the email. Okay, so we use this subject because the title of the email starts with subject, isn't it? Let's look for it quickly, no time. Where is it from? Okay, we don't have much time, so you can take time and look for it. It's somewhere here. This is messed up. Okay, so it starts with subject, so you match anything that starts with subject followed by a full column in item, right? So now we also account for missing values in it by simply saying if this subject field is not none, we want to replace this subject with an empty space, because once you match this pattern, it's going to extract this subject for you, so which is not really important. So we'll replace it, right? So if you want to see what I mean by that, let me print it out and show you. Okay, quickly, let me comment this and print out the subject field, and so you see print subject field, subject field underscore field, so dot group. Why is this looking? Okay, dot group. Okay, so let's run it and see what we have. So let me pause this. Oh. Okay, you can see what I mean. So you can see once you match this pattern, it extracts both the subject and the title for you. But we don't need this, so we have to use the sub function to replace it. So in this place, which is this subject field dot group, anytime you have subject and full column, you simply replace it with an empty quote, which is what we did here. So we simply say, okay, when you replace it, you assign it to subject, right? And if it is missing, you simply assign the subject to none. Then finally, we created another key on our dictionary which we contain the subject, right? Then finally, this is the most important one. Now, you know, for you to extract the body of the email, let's say this is the body of the email, right? Now, for you to extract this from this huge corpus is going to be very tedious and complicated using regular expression. For that reason, we use the email library, which we imported previously. Now, the email library contains what we call message from string. Now, this function here is capable of extracting the body of the mail for any corpus you assign it to. Okay, so we simply do what? We create a variable name which is full email. We call it full email. Now we say, okay, let this function extract for us all the full email from our corpus here, from our content. Okay, right? Now then we also created a new variable body. Now this function also, this email message from string also contains what we call get payload. This is what extract the body of the mail for you. Okay, so from this variable here, we use the function called get underscore payload. This extracts the body of the mail and saves it in this variable body. Okay, then finally we created a new key on our dictionary which is email body and contains the body of the mail. So you can feel free to try to go through your slides. It's also well explained there. Okay, because of time I have to rush through this, so don't waste so much time on this lecture, considering data course as well. Alright, now when I run this, you can see I have everything I need. I have the sender email, all the variables we listed previously prior to starting this lecture. Okay, then finally this is CROF and a little bit unstructured. Okay, so what we simply do next is we call our list. Remember we created a list called emails before, right? So now we are going to append this dictionary to that list. You remember append when we did ISM 415, right? When we looked at the list, we say you can add a list, an object or an item to a list using the append method. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to add this dictionary inside inside the empty list. So what do? We simply say now we are done with our script, so you can open a new cell and continue. So we simply say emails, which is our empty list, dot append. Okay, what is this holding? Let me pause this. bit. Sorry. All right, so we append the email underscore dict into this our empty list. So when you are done, okay, you run it. All right, now the next thing we do is we convert the list to a table, okay, to a structured table now, which is called a data frame. And to do that, we use the Pandas library. So we simply say we create a new variable, we can call it data now, data equal to our Pandas library, which is abbreviated as pd.dataframe. Please take note, the D is capital letter and the F is also capital letter. So data frame of emails. Okay, so this will do. So when you run it, let's say now it runs successfully. Now to view the first few rows in our table, now we simply use the dot head. So we simply call data dot head. So we're running out of time. Okay, let's wait a bit. Awesome, you can see how beautiful our table is. So now it contains different columns now. The date sent, which is this, the email body, which is the recipient email, this. Now this is the structured version of this unstructured one. So from here now we can start doing some analysis, like detecting spam mails. Okay, why is this mail spam and why is the rest not spam and stuff? Okay, does that make sense? Now finally, I'm going to show you how to save this data on your working directory. Okay, so without wasting so much time, how to do that is, first of all, you call your variable name data, then you use the dot to underscore CSV. We are going to save this as CSV. So you can also save it as any other format like Excel. If you want to save it as Excel, you simply say to underscore Excel, but we want to save it as CSV. I want to call it data dot CSV. CSV is short for comma separated values. Okay, so we want to set the index to be equal to false. Okay, so that this index here will not be saved with this. So simply run. All right, so this will take a while. Oh, this takes so much time. All right, great. So this has run successfully. So we'll simply go to our folder quickly. This is it. So we open it. You can open with Excel, okay, or your notepad. I'm going to open it, then I'll show you. So okay, great. Now you can see how beautiful our table is. We've managed to convert this unstructured data into this beautiful looking table here. So from here we can start our data cleaning and data manipulation, and then we can do spam detection and topic modeling and all that. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this beautiful interesting lecture. Please try and go through this video lecture and the slide for as many times as you can. Then we are going to schedule a chat session this week. Okay, so we are going to give you some few days to go through these materials. Then we schedule a chat section where you ask as many questions as you want or you like. Okay, so feel free to prepare your questions beforehand, and very importantly, try to go through the materials more than once, preferably. Okay, so you assimilate everything. So until we meet again, so please stay safe and enjoy natural language processing. Bye and happy Easter. Bye.